Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to continue with our lecture of cerebellum. In the last lecture, we have studied about the various functions of the, we have studied about the cerebellum, its physiognomy of the cerebellum, the connections of the cerebellum, as well as the various divisions of the cerebellum. Now, in the connections of the cerebellum, we have seen that is the cerebellum, that is physiognomy. It is the smaller part of the smaller brain, it is called as, and it is the largest part of the hind brain. It is connected to the brainstem by means of the three peduncles, that is superior peduncle, middle peduncle, and the inferior peduncle. Superior peduncle helps in connecting to the midbrain, middle peduncle to the pons, and the middle peduncle to the pons, and the inferior peduncle to the medulla. We have seen the divisions of the cerebellum, anatomical, functional, and phylogenetic. Anatomically, it is divided. Anatomical division of the cerebellum, it is of anterior, posterior, anterior lobe, posterior lobe, and the nodular lobe. Then कशामुळे येतो तो आवाज का नाही खूपच जास्त म्हणजे तुम्ही एक शब्द जरी बोलला तरी
Hello student.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the divisions of the cerebellums we have studied. Divisions of cerebellum we have studied under the heading like anatomical division, functional division, and the phylogenetical division. Anatomically, we have divided the cerebellum into different lobes, that is the anterior lobe, posterior lobe, and the foculonodular lobe. Functional division we have divided according to the functional point of view into the vestibulocerebellum, spinocerebellum, and the corticocerebellum. Whereas phylogenetical division, it is phylogenetical means it is the according to the development, that is evolutionary. We have divided the cerebellum into the various types, that is archicerebellum, which coincides with the foculonodular lobe, then paleocerebellum, which coincides with the spinocerebellum, and the neocerebellum, that is coinciding with the corticocerebellum. We have also studied about the connections of the cerebellums, and these connections we have studied according to the different way. We have also studied about the architecture of the cerebellum and various cells which are present in the cerebellar cortex and their functions. Now today we are going to study about the functions of the cerebellum. Now in these functions of the cerebellum, we are going to study the functions of the cerebellum by means of the, that is, divisions. Now the functions of the archicerebellum are the functions of the foculonodular lobe, or it can be like the vestibulocerebellum. It's are one and the same. So the functions of the archicerebellum, it helps in fixing the position of the body during the skilled movement. Then this fixing of the body during the skilled movement is being done by means of the vestibulocerebellum or vestibular apparatus. Then it helps in maintaining the equilibrium of the body during both reflex as well as the voluntary movement. It helps in control of eyeball movement. And lastly, it helps in modulating the muscle tone in relation to the position of body. So in short, the function of archicerebellum is to control the body posture and equilibrium. So we have already studied the connections of the vestibulocerebellum, which is same as that of the archie, coincides with the oculonodular lobe or the archicerebellum. Now this vestibulocerebellum or the archicerebellum, as it has got a wide connection with the vestibular apparatus, it helps in maintaining the equilibrium. Now how does it help in maintaining the equilibrium during the reflex as well as the voluntary motor movement? Now this voluntary motor movement, like when we want to do any activity. Now this activity when we want to do during the when we want to do the activity, like when we are playing a football. Now in this we voluntarily doing the action, that is the action is that we want to kick the ball. So now in this voluntary motor activity, this cerebellum is being helping. Now how it helps in maintaining the voluntary motor activity? It will be causing the cerebellum will give the signals to the vestibular apparatus. Now in this vestibular apparatus, the kinesthetic sensations which are going from the foot area to the cortex, this kinesthetic sensations are also going to the cerebellum, that is through the cunocerebellar tract or dorsal spinocerebellar tract and the ventral spinocerebellar tract. Both these tracts will carry the information, that is the kinesthetic position sense, to the cerebellum while going to the ascending tract. By means of the ascending tract, these are going to the sensory cortex. Now these sensations through the cunocerebellar tract and this dorsal and the ventral spinocerebellar tract will go to the cerebellum. Now in the cerebellum, it also receives the information coming from the motor cortex via the descending tract. Now what does it do? It adjusts the tone, or it understands what is the imbalance or how we are going to do the activity. And this activity will be determined by the cerebellum, and it will be this will adjust the tone in the distal group of muscle before the activity has to take place. So it will give this sensation, or it will adjust the tone in the muscle, that is both agonist and the anticipatory. It will calculate the what will be the rate and range of the movement and that information, and how we are voluntarily going to kick the ball. So this information will be going to the brain motor cortex and the final execution will be taking place. So it helps in calculating anticipatory calculation of the body position, and thus it helps in maintaining the equilibrium of body both during the reflex as well as the voluntary movement. Now it helps in control of eyeball movement. Now these eyeball movements, it is mainly controlled via the vestibulocerebellum. In vestibulocerebellum, we have seen it gives the fibers to the third, fourth, and sixth cranial nerve through the medial longitudinal fasciculus. Now, this medial longitudinal fasciculus will help in controlling the eyeball movement. When we are doing any linear acceleration or angular acceleration, eyeball has to get fixed, and this fixation of the eyeball will be done by this cerebellar, that is through the medial longitudinal bundle, and this will help in controlling, that is the body position while doing the act. So this will be help in vestibulo-ocular reflex, that is opticokinetic reflex, which we have studied in the vestibular apparatus also. This controls the eyeball movement and will further help in maintaining the body posture and equilibrium. Now, it modulates the muscle tone in relation to the position of the body. Now, this vestibular apparatus, it has a negative influence on the alpha motor neuron, whereas the cerebellum has got inhibitory influence on the gamma motor neuron, that is through reticular formation. So it will adjust the tone in the distal muscles so that the proper posture will be there and we can execute that activity. So all this function will be done by this vestibulocerebellum. So in short, in Viva, if you ask in one line, what is the function of the vestibular cerebellum or archicerebellum? This is to control the body posture and equilibrium. Then the functions of the paliocerebellum. Paliocerebellum is same as that of the spinocerebellum. It coincides with the spinocerebellum. And the part of the spinocerebellum is which part? It is mainly the vermis and the intermediate zone or the paravermal region. This together forms the spinocerebellum. Now the main function of the spinocerebellum, we have seen that it receives all the information coming from the spinal cord. So the central axial body movement will be controlled by the spinocerebellum. Now the different functions done by the spinocerebellum, that first and foremost important function is that it helps in correction of the error during voluntary movement by servo-comparator mechanism. So what is this servo-comparator mechanism? Now in the servo-comparator mechanism, as I said, all the spinal cord, that is the touch, position, all this information through the kinesthetic information, pressure information, all this information is going to the cortex via cerebellum, mainly through the dorsal spinocerebellar tract, cunocerebellar tract, then the ventral spinocerebellar tract. All these tracts will carry the kinesthetic position sensation to the cerebellum. Now at the same time, through the afferents coming from the red nucleus in the form of rubrocerebellar tract, reticulocerebellar tract, tectocerebellar tract, as well as the corticocerebellar tract like corticopontocerebellar tract, which is coming from the cortex via inferior olivary nucleus. Now all this will give the motor input, means the sensory information going to the sensory cortex will give its information to the cerebellum, that is spinocerebellum, and at the same time the motor execution activity will be also coming to the cerebellum. Here the cerebellum will detect if there is any error in the activity, and if there is an error, he will apply the corrected information, will go to the motor cortex, and the motor cortex will decide it and will put the correction, and again the corrected information will be going back to the cerebellum. So it detects the error, and that detected error during the voluntary activity will be executed again checked by the cerebellum, and final execution through the descending tract will be taking place. Now here the best example for the servo-comparator mechanism, that when we are learning the new motor car, like driving the bike or when we are driving a car, we do several mistakes. So the servo-comparator mechanism is acting when we are doing the activity till we become perfect, the correction is being applied, and at the same time the correction is applied for the immediate activity also. Now when we are playing a tennis ball, now we have done, the mind is being that the ball is while playing the table tennis, the ball where it has to be fall, the instructor tell us how should we do the service. Now first time we may not able to put the ball, that is give the service in a proper way, and the ball may go out of the table also. So every time the correction by the servo-comparator mechanism will be done, and then the corrected information will be given till we execute the proper action. So this is the main function of the spinocerebellum, that is servo-comparator mechanism. Second activity is it controls the synergistic activity of agonist and the antagonistic muscle to bring coordination of the distal muscle. So this is very, very important. Like when we are doing any rapid activity, walking, standing on one leg, running, kicking the ball, or doing any exercises. So in all this, the agonist and antagonistic muscle should be in proper coordination to maintain the posture. If it is not in the synergistic activity, if one is lagging behind, the proper smooth motion movement will not be possible. From switching up from one movement to the other movement becomes very difficult. The third important function of the spinal cerebellum is smooth transition of motor activity from proximal to the distal muscle group. Like when we are walking and immediately we turn off to the running. Like when we are writing a alphabet and immediately if you want to write the same letter on the board, the action, that is the smooth transition of the activity, will be possible. Then concerned with the skill movement as it controls the distal muscle group. So all the coordinated activity like playing a piano or stitching, writing a letter, typing machine on a typewriter, reading the books, all this require skilled activities of the distal muscles.
Hello, ma'am.
What happened? Hello, you are not able to understand? What is the problem? Hello? Then it has got a role in learning the special motor skills. It also has a role in facilitation of the muscle tone by inhibitory influence on the alpha motor neuron. So sometimes it facilitates the muscle tone, and because of which whenever there is a damage to the muscle tone, the muscles, whenever there is a damage to the cerebellum, it will cause hypotonia because of the loss of inhibitory influence on the alpha motor neuron. So this facilitation of the muscle tone will be increased, leading to that hypotonia. Then it prevents the pendular movement by putting on the brake to stop the movement at the right time. Now, whenever we are doing any movement, this putting of the brake is very important. Like when we are running, and if we see the wall, we will not go and hit the wall. We will put stop just in front of the wall. So this putting of the brake, where to stop from the voluntary action, is being decided by the cerebellum beforehand. And if this is damage to the cerebellum, the movements become pendular. Pendular means when we are doing any passive activity. So instead of the stopping of the, if I am doing a flexion of the forearm. Now, if in a patient, if I am doing a flexion of the forearm, in the normal person, the person will hold the hand in a straight position if I stop doing the flexion at that particular point. But in case of the damage to the cerebellum, this action will be pendular, means there will be a swinging of the movement. He is not able to put the brake at the proper time. Similarly, this pendular movement of putting the brake, this can be seen when we are crossing the road. Now, while we are crossing the road, just looking at the vehicle on the road, we can judge what will be the motion of that vehicle. Can I move fast or cross the road before that vehicle comes, or should I stop? All this decision making, that is been done by the spinocerebellum. Then functions of the neocerebellum. Neocerebellum, it coincides with the lateral hemisphere, or it coincides with the corticocerebellum, or it is also called as a, according to the phylogenetical division, it is called as neocerebellum. Now, the main function of the neocerebellum is planning, programming, and coordination of rapid, skillful movements and sequential movement brought about by the distal muscle as much as 1/10 of the second in advance to the actual movement. Means it does the planning and coordination as well as the programming of all the rapid successive activities 1/10 before the actual movement is taking place. So this is being done by the neocerebellum. Then subconscious motor plan handed over by the basal ganglia is corrected and implemented by the neocerebellum. It also got a role in learning of the special motor skill. It got a role in cognition, that is thinking process, and coordination of muscles involved in the speech, because proper coordination is required for the speaking. That is articulation of the vocal cord muscles, and this requires a very proper coordination. So in total, the functions of the cerebellum are to control the body posture and equilibrium, control of the muscle tone and the stretch reflex, control of involuntary and voluntary movements. Then applied aspect, whenever there is damage to the vestibulocerebellum, the patient may complain of vestibular dysfunction, that is, he is not able to maintain the posture properly during the linear acceleration or the angular acceleration. Then patient walk in the staggering fashion on a broad base like a drunken gait. It tends to fall to the side of the legion and is reluctant to move without support. Swinging of his leg unnecessary and irregularly, and tends to rely also on. So it is mistaken as a drunken gait. There is nystagmus. This nystagmus is called as the cerebellar nystagmus, that is involuntary jerking movement of the eyeballs. So these all symptoms will be seen whenever there is a damage to the vestibulocerebellum or oculonodular lobe. Then whenever there is a damage to the spinocerebellum, it produces the clumsiness in the voluntary movement, that is incoordinate movements will be seen, leading to ataxia, asynergia, that is error in rate, range, force and the direction of the movement. The patient is not able to identify. Ataxia means that is inability to do the maintain the coordinated activity as well as to walk. So usually whenever there is a damage to the spinocerebellum, it leads to the motor type of ataxia. The person is not able to walk in a straight line or stand. So he is not able to do this act, that is tandem walking test, is not able to do with open eyes as well as the closed eyes. Then there is a dysdiadochokinesia, that is failure to perform rapid alternate opposite movements such as rapid pronation and supination of the hands. This is called as dysdiadochokinesia. Then adiadochokinesia, that is inability to progress from one rapid movement to the other rapid movement. Intention tremor. Intention tremor is that the patient is perfectly normal, but once he wants to do the activity, the tremor will begin. So at rest, there will be no tremor, which is opposite of the basal ganglia lesion. In case of the Parkinsonism, there is a static tremors, that is shaking palsy. The person will be continuously having the tremors in the hand. So that are static tremors. These are the intention tremors. Then fast pointing, that is the person is not able to put on the brakes and therefore there is always overshoot of the movement. Rebound phenomena, that is inability to put brake to the movement. Then whenever there is a damage to the cerebrocerebellum, there occurs decomposition of the movement, that is inability to do movement involving multiple joints. The movements are being done as if a single joint is involved. Like in a break dance, the person is moving only one single joint. Like that, the movement the person will be doing. So this type of movement is called as decomposition of movement. Then dysarthria, that is improper coordination of the speech muscle. So therefore, there is a dysarthria, scanning, slurred type of speech. So this speech is called as lale speech. We cannot understand what the person is talking. Just like in case of the infants of 1 or 2 or 3 years, they talk la la la. So like that they will be talking. Or a drunken person, how does he talk? We cannot understand. Same way, the speech will be present. Then asthenia, that is weakness of the muscle due to hypotonia. These all are the features of the cerebellar syndrome. Now, how we will test the clinical test can be done in the upper extremities as well as the lower extremities. In upper extremity, the test done is the finger nose test, then rebound phenomena test, disc diadochokinesia, and in lower extremity, the 3 tests can be done, that is heel to knee test, then tandem walking and Romberg signs. So these are all the tests that can be performed. Usually we take a practical on the cerebellar test. There you can see how to perform the test. So this all completes your lecture on the cerebellum along with its cerebellar syndrome. So today we have studied about the functions of the cerebellum and the clinical aspects of the cerebellum.